Hey guys, I just found out I'm going to have about a $35,000 annual and I couldn't be happier. Stay tuned to find out more. You heard right. I'm not crazy. I'm over the moon, excited and happy and relieved finally to have a proper set of eyes, look over my airplane and find all the things that are wrong with it, and let's just get it fixed and sorted out. A bit of context here. After 4 years of lackluster maintenance, I've taken my airplane to a reputable twin Cessna shop in Central Texas. These guys are twin Cessna experts. They know everything to look for, and I have a list in front of me, incredibly detailed list of just even the most jaw-droppingly subtle things that you wouldn't know to look for unless you looked at or worked on these airplanes day in and day out. So let's just jump into it. I'm going to keep this video short. What they find during the initial inspection. So first of all, the engines. This is the good news story. There's no major issues with the engines. The compressions range from the 50s to the 70s with the average in the mid 60s. My note I've added here, I'm using 1 quart of oil every 10 to 12 hours. I'm not worried about the engines. I subscribe to the Mike Bush philosophy of running my engines. I don't see there's anything wrong with my engines. I'm going to run them well past TBO as long as the compressions don't drop into the 30s, I guess, and they don't start burning through oil. So really happy. They found a lot of minor things, some chafing and some baffle issues and a small piece of baffle between the cylinders missing and some fuel stains around the fuel injectors, just stuff that's just little detailed stuff that should have been caught. But it's all minor stuff. It just kind of reflective of lack of attention to detail in previous annuals. So there's a total of about $1,500 worth of parts and labor for the engines. So on the airframe, the main 3 discoveries on this year's annual were there are cracks in the main gear webs, and this is very common. There's a service kit for this. There are 2 bulkheads cracked in the nose section, and again, this is relatively common. And then, not surprisingly, the gear system's pretty worn and in need of overhaul. There's tons of bushings and rod ends and things that need to be replaced. So as far as the cracks in the wing web, they are, here's borrowed this from Kevin's 310 Pilot YouTube channel. He had to have the same kit installed. This is what it looks like. So it's reinforcement plates that beef up the wing rib in the main gear well. So you're looking outboard in this picture. If you look in the bottom center, you can see the top of the landing gear strut. So the gear folds up towards you. The person making this photo is actually where the wheel would retract into. So it's you can see that they're riveting this kit on. Here's another view of it from a more oblique view, and you can see that it's just a doubler or a series of doublers that get riveted on to reinforce this area. And then also as well, sometimes they find cracks in the wing skin once they really get in there and open everything up, and that could be repaired as well with a series of doublers and patches. So, the nose structure, I have 2 bulkheads that are cracked, and they're about 35 hours of labor each to drill them out, fabricate new ones, and install them. Unfortunately, Cessna doesn't even have replacement parts, so they'll have to be like a fabricated part, I guess, or we'll have to find one from a wreck. I'm not sure of all the details of that, but what I'm referring to, looking at the red arrow, are these bulkheads that form the structure that the skin wraps around. Here's a better picture, hopefully. So this is looking in the inspection panel, the avionics inspection panel bay door in the nose section. What I've highlighted there in red dash, that's an example of one of the bulkheads. That one's not cracked in my airplane there on the other side where the heater is. The gear system, lots of little stuff, but the parts really add up. Downlock spring is broken. That's a pretty critical item. Tons of rod end bearings are worn. Pivot arm bushings and pins where the gear rotates on are worn. Not a surprise. Other bushings need to be replaced here and there. There's some hardware they're going to replace, just bolts that probably should be replaced. And then the gear to be rigged after overhaul. And we're looking at almost $4,810 in parts. So the shop's real pragmatic. On this list of the three major discoveries in the airframe, one doesn't really need to be done this year, so we're deferring that so we can concentrate on getting the gear system overhauled and getting the cracked airframe parts and the nose dealt with. So we're going to wait on the service kit for the wing till next year, and it's pretty time consuming to install. So 2 and 3 are what we're going to deal with. Other items of note, my heater's leaving a black trail of soot. We don't know what the cost of what's wrong there, but I mean, that's something I actually flagged up because this second 310 I've owned, and the first one, my heater burned really clean, and now this heater from Hartzell is just belching out black smoke along the belly. There's a little bit of minor corrosion in the flaps, so I don't have time to deal with this stuff with work, so it's about a little under 9 hours of labor. They're just gonna clean all that up, kind of sand it and shoot it with some chromate. Both my brake discs and pads are worn. My auxiliary pump switches are not, which is strange that they were working recently, so that may have just happened, I don't know. And some of the seat belts are installed backwards, and I kind of knew that, they were twisted when you would buckle them. So they're just gonna remedy that. And there's actually, honestly, there's pages of little minor stuff. This is missing, this has the wrong washer or the wrong nut on it and stuff like that. It's just an amazing amount of detail and good catches. So the final slide here's the initial estimate. The base annual cost, the actual inspection to open everything up and inspect it, is $5,250. We're looking at $10,160 in parts. The service kit for the wing rib, I'm gonna go ahead and actually buy the kits this year because parts seem to be getting outrageous for Cessnas, or at least twin Cessnas. So I'm gonna go ahead and buy the kits and just store them. And then we're looking at labor at $105 an hour. We're looking at about $14,400 in labor. So right now, as they're just getting started, the initial estimate is $30,520. I'm sure it'll be more. I'm sure they'll find other things in there as they get into it. But I'm incredibly happy. I just never been satisfied with the lack of detail in my previous annuals, and it's just always bugged me that some of this stuff hasn't been dealt with. So I finally feel like I'm taking my high-end sports car to somebody who specializes in high-end sports cars and not to the Ford dealership. So anyway, I'm happy. So I'll try to give an update after the new year. I mean, to be honest, the A&P told me that they're not going to really do much till January because they're finishing up some other airplanes and they got to order parts and everything. But and that's, of course, it's Christmas, so that's where we stand. And again, I couldn't be happier. I'm just really looking forward to years of relatively inexpensive, trouble-free annuals once we kind of get through here and overhaul all this stuff. So thanks for watching. More videos soon. Take care, all.